Shall we begin by pledging allegiance to the flag of the United States of America? Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Prior to roll call, I would like to, in respect to Supervisor Dollywall, let him designate his chair, and I am officially resigning at this moment as the chair. So with that, Supervisor Dollywall, welcome, and the show is now yours.
Thank you, sir. This is my first time, so please bear with me. Olivia, I'm going to need your help. So should we start with a roll call and then install new members?
Absolutely.
Who's going to do the roll call?
It's a great question. I had planned for Mr. Amador to do the roll call, but I think, do you want to install who your new chair is and then they can take roll?
Yeah, we can do that. Dr. Hislop, would you do the honors, sir?
Which honors?
To be the chair, new chair?
Yes, sir. I thought you wanted me to install myself.
Here's a copy of the. There you are.
Thank you. Calling the roll. Sonny Dollywall.
Present.
Antonio Amador. John Beckman. Not present. Shirley Romero. Not present. Pamela Sloan.
Here.
Patricia Barrett.
Here.
Jay Hislop, I am here. Andrew Dadasovich. Janice Vermeulen, not present. Christina M. Gonzaga, not present. Thank you. Sonny, are you going to install new members? Or is that a job for Ms. Hale?
Yes, we need to do the oath. There you go. Through the chair, we're waiting for a copy of the oath to be brought down from upstairs, so it'll be just a moment. Actually, I have a backup copy we can use. One second.
Not all the new members are here. I think among the members and alternates, it's only myself and Andrew, Mr. Dadasovich, is that correct? Yeah.
And how many members need to be sworn in?
We have a few folks that aren't here this evening that need to be sworn in, but tonight it would be Dr. Hislop and Andrew, I'm going to butcher your last name. Okay.
They need
Here's
to
a
be
copy
sworn
of
in?
the- Yes, they need to be sworn in. I crossed out the name that was listed there so they can both be sworn in, and once the paper comes down, we can officially sign it before the meeting ends.
I've been sworn in into the county.
Yes,
This
you've already
is
been
just-
sworn in. It's just for, so you both have been sworn in with your oaths. Okay, so then they just need to be officially installed. The folks that are not, haven't taken their oath aren't here this evening, so we're
Okay.
good to go.
So they
we
need to
just
sign?
install.
Okay.
No, they've already signed and submitted their paperwork to the
Okay.
clerk of the board's office. Perfect.
We all good? Yeah. Okay.
So that's it? Okay. I'd just like to just say to the audience here, if I may, this feels awkward to me. I'm used to addressing a meeting with being able to see the audience. So I would like to see a camera installed in the back so we can split the screen and not have everybody.
Can we, I have a suggestion. How about we switch your seat to that corner? That way you can talk to the audience directly.
And through the chair, we're happy to change the design of the room. We can talk
Yeah, I
about
think
that at
that'd
the
be
next
better.
meeting.
That way you don't have to look back.
Pardon me.
Teamwork. Oh, cool.
Thank you. So this meeting's already been called to order. The first item of business is to approve the minutes of the previous meeting.
I make a motion to accept.
Motion by Ms. Barrett, seconded by Mr.
I second the
Amador.
motion.
Motion's been made to approve the minutes of the March 13th, 2025 meeting. Is there discussion? I have one item on that, on the minutes. It refers to the Women's League of Voters. It is the League of Women, no apostrophe S, voters. And with that correction, if no one objects to making that correction, I'll have a vote. Approval of the minutes, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No opposed.
Mr. Hitzlop, I'm going to abstain because I was not in the meeting.
I need to abstain too because I was not present.
Can I just comment on that? These are not personal to a member of the committee or a board, and I know it's common for people to feel uncomfortable voting on minutes. But in fact, if you've read the minutes and would like them entered into the record, it doesn't imply that you agree and understand that everything in those minutes was what you heard. It just says that you would like to see them entered into the record.
As long as you read 'em.
So,
Fair enough then.
yeah,
Then I'll,
okay.
so moved.
Next, we have item 3, consent items. There are 3 consent items. The first one is to receive information from the county's implementation of an automated ballot duplication system, and that came from the Registrar of Voters. I'm going to list them and then return. The second one is to receive information on the new asset management tracking solution for voting equipment, again, from the Registrar of Voters. And the third is to receive information on new election laws for 2026, and that was from the Registrar of Voters. All those were both at the website for public inspection, and they are in the packet for each of the members that are here. They were available for review before the meeting. I will entertain any requests for discussion or a motion to approve the consent items as a group.
I would like to approve them. I have been through some of these already. I've been told by some of the information, so, and I've read, so,
Would that be a motion, Ms. Barrett?
yes.
So
To
from Ms. Barrett, a motion to approve the consent items number 1, 2, and 3. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Pamela Sloan seconds the motion. All those in favor of approving the consent items, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none. Now, we have a number of discussion items, and I have watched videos of this particular board meetings in the past, and there's been a variation of how the public was recognized and how each member of the public was invited to speak. Here's how I'd like to handle it tonight. We have discussion items. We'll take them one at a time, and we'll take public comment on each of those items. Because there's so many members of the public here tonight, and I don't know if each of you came with the idea that you're going to speak. I'd like to limit it to 90 seconds, a minute and a half. So prepare your comments in advance and be prepared to be concise. And I think we can hear everybody then and have an efficient meeting. The first item is to adopt the Election Advisory Committee formation document as amended. That was provided by San Joaquin Registers of Voters staff. And there's an E, the Election Advisory Committee direction document also as amended, and an annual meeting calendar as written. So those, again, were all in your packet or at the website for public review. I have to apologize. I'm gonna go all legal nerd on you now, because I do have some corrections that I would like to make. I have discussed these already with Ms. Hale and sent an email to Mr. Diaz. These are not substantial changes. They are Scribner's errors. What in non-legal documents are considered clerical errors, but in a legal document, we call them Scribner's errors because there's a chance that they can change the meaning or imply meaning that wasn't intended. Also, the use of capital letters in legal documents creates what's called a defined term. And a defined term is a word or a term, multiple words, capitalized or otherwise distinguished from other texts. And that's to ascribe a particular meaning given to the word or to this phrase in the document. And there are some capitalized words in this document that are not defined terms and should not be capitalized. So I just want to go through it for the record. Ms. Hale, did you pass out my notes? Okay.
Yeah.
I would love a copy of that because I'm reading it from my phone. Thank you. And I'll try to do this quickly and just bear with me because this is the legal nerd in me. But we do want to have this document. It's being amended tonight and being approved, and it's going to be our guiding document for this committee going forward. And they can be corrected now before the document's published. And those corrections can be included in a motion to approve the new document, including the corrections discussed tonight. So in the document itself, and we're looking at the I just want to pull it out so the members can see it. It's this document, the Election Advisory Committee amended comprehensive plan for formation. And I'm just going to take you quickly down this document. Under purpose, it says the Election Advisory Committee, and then in parentheses, EAC. Those parentheses create a defined term. And we all love our acronyms, but they tend to pop up where we didn't intend them or they weren't defined before. So the next place, it says Board of Supervisors, and following that, there should be, in parentheses, BOS. And then the Registrar of Voters Office. Between voters and office, it should say ROV in parentheses. Under composition, which is the next section, the term chairperson is properly capitalized, and she should be followed by the capitalized word chair in parentheses, because the word chair is later used as a substitute for chairperson. So chair being later used as a substitute. Then the third line, the word chair should be capitalized. And where it says a chair may not serve more than 1 year as a chair, both of those should be capitalized. And then the next line talks about a vice chair. So above where it says and a vice chairperson, it should say vice chair in parentheses, because we then later refer to a vice chair. The word committee should not be capitalized. And we don't want that as a defined term. It just is the committee. And in section 4, again, the word committee, members of the committee should not be capitalized. It's understood. Under meetings, advisory committee, it says in the fourth line, at 6 p.m. on dates terminated by a vote of the advisory committee. The advisory committee was never defined. It should be either EAC or the election advisory committee, and I'll leave that up to staff. Under under county staff participants, it should say county administrator staff, and staff should be in small s, no capital on staff. Under election, the next is a title page that says Election Advisory Committee, and then it repeats the defined term EAC. That's unnecessary, it's redundant, should be stricken. And then under topics, improve public trust. Neither the P in public nor the T in trust need capitalization. Under public election update strategy, remove the capital E on election. Under community engagement, it says all local media outlets, including TV, radio, and print. Radio and print are capitalized. They should be small r, small p. And then once, next paragraph, once the clerk of the board has created the committee and Granicus. Committee is capitalized and it makes it sound like some grand committee. It's this committee, and Granicus is a software program that binds together elements of county government. So that committee should be small c. And under guidelines for alternatives, item A2, remove the chair in parentheses. We've defined it, we have now defined it way up in the beginning of the document. And then if you follow this. And under D1, county staff should not be capitalized in that item D1. They're our county and it's our staff. It's not, there's no organization or office called county staff. So those are the changes. With that, is there any other discussion about this amended plan? I will entertain, yes.
Chair, I really appreciate this, because any document.
I'm sorry?
I really appreciate this, because when a document goes into, come here, you. I appreciate this, because when this legal document is entered, it should literally be represented as a legal document.
Thank you. Any other discussion? I'll entertain a motion to approve this document.
You gonna make a motion to approve?
Yeah.
Pamela Sloan,
I'll
motion.
move to accept the edits as presented for
Okay.
the formation.
I'm wondering, there's a motion on the floor. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? All those in favor of approving this document, the amended election advisory committee comprehensive plan for formation, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
Abstain.
Abstain. In addition, we had a staff EAC direction document and an annual meeting calendar. So I probably should have taken those all up at once, and I appreciate the grace of the committee and our staff and the public to bear with me a little bit as we move through this. This is my first meeting. San Joaquin County Registrar of Voters, staff EAC directions, and I would entertain a motion to approve that.
I'll make a motion to.
Motion by Patricia Barrett, second.
I'll second.
Pamela Sloan, all those in favor, or is there discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Seeing none, that passed unanimously. You know, I didn't check, Ms. Hale or Mr. Kelly, do we have a secretary, or is this just done by artificial intelligence? Who's keeping notes?
Through the chair, previously, Ms. Barrett was the assigned designated secretary.
Ms. Barrett, are you still maintaining that office?
Yes, Chair.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Hippelslop, I just wanted one thing. We also should take public comment on items before we officially vote on them. under discussion items.
Thank you. I didn't mean to shut the public out. I was just assuming that you understood that you can raise your hand if you want to make comment now that I can see you. And how do we do that? I noticed that there was cards that had been turned in for public comment, but when we're on item by item, it seems like we should be able to have somebody step up and make a comment.
That seems accurate to me.
Is that okay with you, Supervisor Dollywall?
That's fine, sir.
One other point of order, when I was reading this election advisory committee, and then reading the roll, it says Supervisor Dollywall is an ex officio member, which implies that he has no vote. And then in this document, the election advisory committee, as we amended it, there's nothing in here that says he can't vote. It says he's a member. So, and I was wondering if we know what this is our origin document. And I'm wondering if there's some notes or something from previous to this that said that the representing supervisor is a non-voting member. So I am curious about that. And again, I asked for grace, and I want to give grace to everybody who's been in this process, because things do get overlooked or they get misinterpreted. So where do we go from here on that?
I have a question.
Yes.
I view the supervisor's presence as a designee from the Board of Supervisors. I did not assume or think that intent empowered them to vote on issues that we as members bring up. So I don't know if there's, if the Board of Supervisors intended that. They weren't specific about that. But I would have assumed that has oversight in some, and is a representative for the Board of Supervisors.
Indeed, and looking back at previous meetings, I know when Supervisor Ding was here, he did not vote. And in my discussions with Supervisor Dollywall, we had been assuming that that's the role. But what it says here is the committee shall consist of one Board of Supervisors, designee, and 5 appointed members and 5 alternates, with each member of the San Joaquin County Board of Supervisors nominating a member and an alternate. Alternates are expected to attend meetings. There is language further in here that says that the alternates don't get a vote, but they are allowed to speak on each issue and how they get to vote in the absence of a member. But nowhere in here does it say that the supervisor, the committee that consists of one Board of Supervisor designee and 5 appointed members, it doesn't say that that board member has no vote. So it's something that we should probably do by resolution at some point, if that's the intent. But I think we need to go back and table it, accept this as amended tonight, but find out what the history is, and try to stay to that intent. I know Mr. Dollywall, you want to speak.
I have a suggestion. You just mentioned that the past practice is that when Supervisor Ding was the designee, he did not vote. I think we should keep the same tradition, and I should not vote, because it's a citizens advisory committee, and let the citizens run the committee. That's my suggestion.
I think we need more than just that agreement among ourselves, though. I think we do need to look back to, I mean, I'm open to discussion on it, but, I know there's other attorneys on the board here, but we don't have guidance.
Through the chair, a suggestion could be that we reach out to clerk of the board's office and get clarification. And if the group agrees, when we take this item to the Board of Supervisors for approval, we could include clarification language for that specifically.
I would entertain a motion that would say something to the effect that we would like to refer the issue of voting by a Board of Supervisors member on this committee to the Board of Supervisors, and allow them to insert language in here to clarify that, with the understanding that it would be that that member is not a voting member. If their intention was that that member is a voting member, then I think it warrants further discussion. But it sounds to me like it was intended to
I have
not
a
be
question. Are all committee members that have Board of Supervisors on them, do they have voting members?
All members, each supervisor appoints one of member and an alternate. And the
I'm
members
asking if the supervisors themselves, if they're members of these committees, do they vote?
of this committee.
County committees that have been formed that are like this?
I can't speak to that.
Chair.
Yes.
Chair, the committees that I sit on, supervisors do vote. But I'm thinking, since we only have 5 votes, maybe we can find a way to like implement if the supervisor can vote on maybe not quorums present, or if there was, well, there won't be a split because there's only 5 of us. So,
I suspect that there's some language somewhere in minutes at a Board of Supervisors meeting that we just need to find, and if we can allow that to guide us from their original intent, I think that would be the point to follow.
yeah.
Rather than change it because the newest member of the committee noticed something in the formation document.
Behavioral Health Advisory Board does have a voting supervisor.
Yeah, I understand that there are other committees and other boards that may operate differently. I just want to be clear on what the intent of the Board of Supervisors was for this committee. And I think we probably know, but we don't know why we know. So I think if we find out why we know and allow them to insert this here under item 2, so if I may propose a motion that under item 2, we, under this amended and approved comprehensive plan for formation, we allow the Board of Supervisors to insert an item 2, parentheses A, that specifies whether or not that Board of Supervisors designee was intended as a voting member of the committee. Anyone make that motion?
Motion to accept.
Ms. Barrett made that motion. Is there a second?
I'll second it. Can I make a comment?
We can have discussion. There's a motion and a second on the floor to allow the Board of Supervisors to insert language under 2, parentheses A, clarifying whether the Board of Supervisors, which is identified as an ad hoc member, has a vote or does not have a vote. Discussion.
Yeah. I think the clarification of this, we would definitely need to find out. I've always been under the understanding that this committee acts as a committee to make recommendations to the board and what have you. And therefore, the reason I think that the supervisor did not vote in the past was because whatever our recommendations were then forwarded to the supervisors, of which they collectively voted on the item. So I just want to make that comment, if that's clear. I think I'm right on that, correct? And
Correct.
so,
And I agree. I think we know what the intent was, but we don't know why we know, and I think we need to clarify that. And then go forward. With the intent of this advisory committee, this committee has no formal authority other than to advise the Board of Supervisors on issues of election. And I think that, that there is a member that sits here to observe. So, Mr. Amador.
Yes, I think I think the benefit in having a supervisor here as the designee for the Board of Supervisors is very important, because that board member is something important that we do if we go off the rails or do something stupid. He certainly can bring it back to the Board of Supervisors and has influence as that person, and they will defer to that designee. And I'm sure not going to go behind his representation of what we have if we screwed up on something. But I think having that person here is important because that member can report back to the Board of Supervisors. But I think it puts a chilling effect if you empower that person with a vote. Because if you vote against that person, or for them, what are you doing? It becomes political with a small p. And so I obviously oppose that person having a vote.
Yeah, and that's not what we're talking about. I think we're specifically talking about guidance from the Board of Supervisors to clarify that the board ex officio member here does not have a vote.
The
and I think-
language said clarifying whether the board member can vote. That was the language that was proposed, and
Well, we can amend it to say whether or not the board member can vote.
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Dollywell.
I have two comments. One, if a supervisor does vote, then an item is sent to the board from the election advisory committee, then the same person votes up or down at the board level. And I think, in my opinion, that can be a conflict. Number two, I want to give you an example. I serve on Council of Government, and we have 3 ex officios from Caltrans, RTD, and Port of Stockton. And those ex officios, they do not vote. So my suggestion be that the supervisor should not vote and let the citizens handle it. That's my suggestion.
I think we're saying the same thing. And so the matter is referred to the Board of Supervisors to return guidance to us and in the form of clarification that their intent was the Board of Supervisors designee, who has never voted, was not intended as a voting member.
Fair
I
enough,
think that's
thank you,
what
sir.
we're looking at. Yeah. Any other discussion? I'm going to call for the vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
no.
The vote carries 3-1. Item number 2, hear from the registrar of voters about the new application and status for public safety members as confidential voters. And that's going to be presented to the Board of Supervisors on March 3rd, 2026. I'll yield to.
Sorry, Mr. Hislop, could we have a public comment on that first item?
Yeah, I didn't see any. Is there
just
public
confirm.
comment on the first item? Seeing none, we'll move on. Thanks,
Thank
Mr.
you.
Kelly. Item 2, I think I'm going to yield that to our registrar of voters, Ms. Hale.
Thank you very much, Chair. We have an application going to the board for approval because in the California Government Code, it is very specific about who is a public safety official. And we are bringing that item, so it requires the Board of Supervisors to allow for public safety officials. So this covers law enforcement, it covers the judges. So there's 2 things going on here. We just had AB 1392 that passed in our legislature, and that requires all elected officials to have the option to be a confidential voter. So that actually encompasses judges and some of the people listed in public safety official, but it does cover law enforcement and those that may be at risk. And there is provisions in the code that list exactly what that is. And so we're taking this item on consent so that we're in compliance and that our Board of Supervisors has passed a resolution allowing us to do that for voters of this county that fall into that category. Confidential voter is not a new thing. There's different categories such as election workers are one new category that was added about 2 years ago, but we also have Safe at Home program, those that are impacted by sexual assault and abuse and things of that nature, domestic violence, they're able to be a confidential voter. So there's a few programs that are listed in the elections code, and we want to ensure that we're including all of those that have that opportunity to be registered. And so this would cover police officers, sheriff's officers, judges, anyone that falls into that category as it's listed in the California Government Code. And so this item will be going on consent just to get us in compliance, something that we didn't do when they updated this code many years ago. So we're just bringing it full circle and ensuring that that resource is available to those that need it. And I'm available for questions.
Mr. Amador?
Yes, where would I find the language defining confidential voters?
It would be in the 2166.7 of the California Elections Code, and the government code that lists what a public safety official, the list is in government code 7920.5.
I'm writing as fast as my dainty little hands.
That's okay. I can repeat it. So
okay.
Elections Code 2166.7, and then Government Code 7920.5.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Ms. Barrett?
So explain this to me. So I'm against it. So what my thing is this, because I think everybody should be transparent, and I think the people have the right to know how their officials voted. How do we, is it a necessary thing to be submitted and voted on, or is this really by choice?
Once the board votes on it, it's by choice of the individual voter. If they can prove that there's some sort of safety threat to them, then they're allowed to do this. So it's not just, you can do it for no reason. You have to attest that there's some sort of threat involved. And so like, a judge could be an example. What stemmed from both of these, both the confidential voter is something that's been longer term, but the AB 1392 that recently moved elected officials to confidential, there was an incident that happened in the Midwest where an elected official and I believe the spouse and even their dog their home was invaded and the people were killed in their home, and it was related to them serving in public service. So this is that the legislature kind of pushed this down about candidates, and you're referring to, the right of the officials. What we're learning through that process is many officials choose to still be, especially if they're an elected official, they choose to still be transparent, but they do have that option. This is separate from that, though. This is related more to like law enforcement, the public health director, people of that nature that maybe have had threats. Something I could go back to is during COVID, there was a lot of public safety health officers that were getting threats and things, and so this is just an option available. And so this lists what's already written in the code. We're just ensuring that our board is okay with that being offered because it requires board approval.
Can anybody that vote, so if I went and vote and I felt that my vote, if somebody knew about my vote, it would be a threat to my life, just as a everyday person, can I get it waived too?
If you fell in one of the criterias of domestic violence or something like that, so there's different categories, and if you meet one of those, you would be able to do that. But it doesn't really hide your vote. I mean, it just hides you being registered to vote. So like if you would still participate in the election, nothing would change there. And if there was a need for you to provide that documentation, you could request that. Like, so if you needed to as a voter, you could come in and attest that you are a registered voter without it being publicly put on the voter roll along with your address and items of that nature.
And would that be public information why this person decided not to, or to say that they're, want to be, disclose their vote?
I believe it shows that the applications are of public record. The application itself is, but then becoming confidential voter at that point, you would not be able to request them. They wouldn't show up when you requested a data file of the voter roll. They would not be present on there. However, they would still live on the voter roll and they would still be an active voter. It just would not show up to the public when that is requested. But the application for that status, that is public record.
So what if there was a CPR or a PRA request? Would that still be able to be disclosed?
The application would, but it would redact the address and any information that would lead to the whereabouts of the individual.
Mr. Amador?
Yes, if I get a second, I'd like to propose a motion that item number 2, the recommendation from the registrar of voters, be supported. And if I get a second, I'd like to explain why.
Okay, there's a motion on the floor. I don't know that that we need to approve this as much as it's just a referral, but is there a second? And then we can open discussion.
I'll second that.
Pamela Sloan, second. Okay, I'd like to open it to discussion. Mr. Amador?
Thank you. I think this is one of the things that we should be looking at carefully. I mean, we've got to consider the safety of people. I fight with you sometimes, but this is a great recommendation. The Board of Supervisors, I think, would love to see this, because they too may be one of the people that fall in that category. If someone doesn't like the way they voted, or people are getting pretty violent in today's world. And so I strongly urge a yes vote that this go forward. I can't see it compromising the integrity of the voting process in any way, that those people have this right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Is there any member of the public that wants to weigh in on this issue? Your name, please. Oh, go ahead, step up here. No,
Do we ever go to the podium, or, because it has to be at a line?
we need you to identify yourself.
Yeah, we'd like to see the person also.
Ellen Estrada.
Thank you.
Can I stand here, or do I need to?
Please go to the podium.
Okay.
It's just our protocol.
So a couple things. Have any other states done this? Is there any history to doing this kind of thing? Because sometimes you might look to other states for solutions to this kind of issue, and possibly someone else has had experience with it, and there are pros and cons that might have been worked out. And then the other thing is that I agree that people should be protected if somebody's going to look up how they voted and do something based on that. Anything that is done to hide or look like you're hiding something is always going to be criticized from political parties. So I would ask that maybe you think about that too, but hopefully there's ways to do it that would insulate from those kind of things.
Thank you. I've got some cards here from various people that want to speak on various subjects. So if you would just do me a favor and raise your hand, and if you haven't turned in a card and you think you want to speak, turn in a card so we know that I have the opportunity to call on you. Any other comments on this item?
I'm Richard Slezak. I spent 20 years.
Yeah, go ahead and
in the
step to the
Navy.
microphone and then start speaking.
In the 90s in the yachts, I went to the registrar's office quite regularly, and about midway through, encountered closed voter indexes. And Gina did let me in on one that I was wondering about, but leave it as a matter of privacy for said public official, and just respect that right of privacy, number one. It is a safety issue, number two. And if some politicos are wah-wah about it, too bad. You know, there is a right of privacy, there is a right of safety. And again, if that person is an elected official, they're already going to be proclaiming party affiliation. So I'm with the protective policy.
Okay. Thank you. Any other comments? Yes, ma'am.
Phyllis McDonald.
Thank you, Phyllis.
I'm trying to understand this. My sense of it is that nobody knows how we vote, right? So it's not how we voted, it's personal information about us being kept from the public for safety reasons. And is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? We have a motion on the floor. Sorry.
Dance lesson.
I'll find myself $25. The motion's on the floor. I'd like to call for a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? None. Thank you. That was approved unanimously. The next discussion is item number 3, and we have a number of people that want to speak to that from the floor that have already turned in cards. So this 3 is discuss, vote by mail and ballot drop-off location requirements, and hear from the registrar of voters regarding 2 additional boxes, 1 relocation of a box, and discuss the possible removal of cameras, which is an item to be presented to the Board of Supervisors on March 3rd, 2026. And I yield the floor to our registrar of voters, Olivia Hale.
Just a moment while IT gets us all set up, please. Okay, thank you so much. So as I start this presentation, I'd like to disclose this for our office. We're not against the cameras, or are we in support of the cameras? We are looking at this from all angles. The fact that we have fiscal responsibilities that we have to consider, and we know our Board of Supervisors has had concerns around fiscal spending and ensuring that departments are doing all they can to keep their costs down. And so this came up as one of those items when I did a presentation to a post-election to the Board of Supervisors after the 2025 special election. There was conversations around adding more drop boxes. There were conversations around reducing the amount of drop boxes, and there were also concerns around the costs of vote by mail ballots and drop boxes. So I'm going to go ahead and go through the presentation, but I want to share that our office has an open mind. We want to take everything from the public today, and hopefully when we present to the Board of Supervisors on March 3rd, we are able to convey those messages so that the board members have all of the information and they can make the best informed decision for the county and for our department as it relates to this topic. So with that said, let me go ahead and get started. The first thing I wanted to talk about was the cost of vote by mail. The cost to print vote by mail ballots plus assembly and mailing is roughly $557,000. This translates to about $1.47 per registered voter. The total cost also includes all the poll ballots that are distributed to each polling location on election day. So when we're talking about this is the full cost. The vendor that produces our vote by mail ballots prints our poll ballots as well, so the in-person ballots that you see on election day. That is a small cost in the bigger picture of this, but just to share what that includes. The Registrar of Voters Office has 2 mail sorters that process the high quantity of vote by mails. Each sorter costs roughly $600,000. However, one of those sorters was fully grant funded by the Voting Modernization Grant. And so after the 2021 recall, there were funds left that went to the cost of the 2022 primary, which left appropriations in the Registrar of Voters budget in which one sorter was purchased that way and the other one was fully funded through this grant. So that's how we were able to have newly functional sorters to process vote by mail. Staff time for the election is not tracked per task, so there is no data available for how much staff time was needed to process the vote by mails or to verify signatures. It's quite a process, and for those of you that have been in our office during that time, there's a canvass period that takes a few weeks that California elections have been under scrutiny because they'd like us to reduce that time a little bit if we could, but it's quite a process, and if you haven't seen it, I'd encourage you to come in and see our full production and how all of it works. So just a fun fact about the office and how that all works. The cost of drop boxes, the cost for all drop boxes purchased was $178,455. The Registrar of Voters was able to recoup 75% of the cost through grant funding, bringing the final cost to only $44,000. And so if you might remember, over time we had smaller drop boxes, and there was, so something to share is some of the scrutiny that we've heard over the last few years. It's been great because we've been able to make amazing improvements to our processes, and we had a group of individuals that had a lot of concerns around drop boxes, and they actually went out and looked at drop boxes prior to us purchasing these larger, heavy-duty 2,500-pound external drop boxes, and there was concerns about them not being secure enough and not being locked down and different things, and so the current drop boxes that were grant funded are outside, but they're 2,500 pounds and they're made of steel and they are bolted to the ground and they have specialized keys. In our experience, no drop boxes have been damaged. If they were, it was temporary and something that we could fix, like a scrape or the ladder. I'm curious to see the vehicles that may have ran into them and caused those scrapes because they are heavy-duty boxes. So we are glad that they're safe and secure to the best of our ability, right? Of course, there's always room for improvements. During the election, drop box pickups are scheduled every other day. 2 teams of county temporary staff retrieve ballots from drop boxes, taking about an average of 3.5 hours per day for their routes. This translates to about $280 per day in wages. So $280 times 29 days, it comes to about $8,100 in labor. Election day would be about $640 in wages for the total of $8,760. And so something, I think it's already in here, so let me go through the slides, but I want to talk about the postage and what is recouped on the cost of postage. So total ballots retrieved through the drop boxes, and this was for 2024, was 76,722. The total ballots returned through the post office was, no, this was for the special. The total ballots returned through USPS was 105,000. Every ballot returned through the U.S. Postal Service cost 51 cents in postage. The total postage costs for those ballots would have been $53,000. So that $53,000 was saved because every single person put their ballot into a drop box. We didn't have to pay the return postage. The voter does not pay postage, but our department does pay the postage when that ballot goes out and when it is returned. If the county did not have drop boxes, the 76,722 ballots would have cost an additional $39,000 to receive them through the post office. Significantly less cost for ROV to collect the ballots directly from drop boxes than to pay the postage through the USPS. Additionally, complete and secure chain of custody through drop boxes compared to USPS, which is routed to Sacramento through multiple stops. And so one thing I will say that seems to be the thought around vote by mail is the voter places it in the box. The next person to touch their ballot is our county staff that's sworn under oath to administer our elections fairly and accurately. So as opposed to it going in a blue box or getting dropped off at a counter, yes, USPS workers are also trusted. They are also government employees, and so no discredit to them. However, in our processes and the things that we've heard announced over the last year about the Postal Service and changes, there's been concerns around the postmark, and I think that has led to a lot of concerns. And so for us, it's about, we can save that 51 cents per ballot in postage. But of course, we also believe that voters have a choice to return their ballot however they wish and whatever access they choose. So they have the option to send it back through the post office. They have the option to use a drop box. But again, it does save the county that 51 cents per ballot. This shows California counties, and this isn't everyone, but this just shows in perspective of drop boxes. So Santa Barbara County, they have 238,000 registered voters, but they have 106 drop boxes. Solano County has 266,000 registered voters, but they have 40 drop boxes. Shasta County has 113,000 voters, and they have 13 drop boxes. San Luis Obispo has 179,000 registered voters and 20 drop boxes. Monterey at 213,000 voters with 19 drop boxes. San Francisco with 510,000 voters, and they have my vision here, 37, and then Tulare with 15 with 215,000. So this is a little old because it says 378,000. We're actually at 408,000 registered voters in San Joaquin County, and we have 25 drop boxes. So in perspective, we actually don't have the most drop boxes in the state, and we have a requirement. If you read the California Code of Regulations, it requires the registrar of voters to ensure that those in rural communities have the same access as those in urban areas. And so when we get questioned about the low amount of ballots returned to Farmington or to Linden or to Clements, it's very important that we're providing that access in those areas that's equitable to exactly what we would offer if you lived in the city of Stockton or one of our other cities. So having 25 drop boxes is the happy medium, if you will, when we look at the Code of Regulations in the California Elections Code. We're doing everything we can to comply with the law. It's not about having however many drop boxes we want to or a random number. It is truly about honoring the California Elections Code and ensuring that we're doing all we can by that standard. And nothing related, and I know these topics can get misconstrued as being partisan and different things, and I just want to be clear that we have an honor and we have a requirement in the California Elections Code that we need to honor, and that's why we have 25 drop boxes. It goes on. San Bernardino has over 1 million voters with 73 drop boxes, and Contra Costa has 43 with 700,000 voters, and so on. So I just wanted to show this for perspective, because I think when we think about this and we only hear what's going on in San Joaquin, it's hard to understand. And to the lady that spoke earlier, I wanted to share that we are constantly in communication with our fellow counties. There's 58 counties, and we're all a part of our trade association and work collectively to ensure that we're doing the best we can to operate elections in California in compliance with the code exactly as it's written. So the security cameras, although not required by law, it says if feasible when it comes to Dropbox cameras. However, we implemented these 24/7 live feed at each Dropbox for the last 3 elections at the direction of the Board of Supervisors. The first election was partnered with LiveView Technologies and cost $102,000, which was fully grant funded, but it did not feature successful live feed among other deficiencies, and it just did not work well. And I can say that when our office does make a misstep, I mean, we did rely quite a bit on IT with that one, but I will say that, you know, at the end of the day, we kind of rushed to get those going, and it was not the best quality, and so we needed to regroup. And under the direction of the Board of Supervisors, the last 2 elections, we partnered with EarthCam, which successfully delivered the 24/7 live feed and other features on our website, and it's archived on our website, so you can go back right now and you can actually watch all the footage from the 2024 primary, or from the general election and from the special election. So the total cost per election is roughly $230,000 per election, not year. So this is every single election. The first purchase of EarthCam, because we still had a little bit of grant funding, a security grant available, we were able to offset $66,000 of the cost. We recently went through an election billing study, and we do know the way we bill out jurisdictions that a portion of the Dropbox cameras can be billed out. However, again, the elections code says if feasible, and so it's not a requirement, and so we just need to be mindful of that. Our office is happy to continue that, but we want to also be cognizant that the cost is pretty high at almost $250,000 per election. And that is my presentation. I'm available for questions, and hopefully I have some answers for you.
From the chair, what is the 2 additional boxes and the relocation? What are those?
Absolutely. So what we are proposing is at the Board of Supervisors meeting on December 9th of 2025, when we took the acceptance of the certification item for the special election, we had conversations around drop boxes and where they were located. And the one in Acampo, California at the winery actually serves those rural voters. It's not the most ideal, but it is where we were able to install one. And we do see a few hundred ballots getting returned there. So we're not looking at that one. What we are looking at as far as relocations, there's one in Tracy, California that has been fondly referred to as the box in the bush. And we think that it needs to be moved. It also has the lowest receipt of ballots, and we know that the Larch Clover Community Center is county property, and it is north of the 205, which would well service that population and put that box in a place that would be better. So our proposal will be to move that box to that location. It'll be still on county property, which is a good thing. And then we want to add 2 additional boxes, because back between the elections in 2024, San Joaquin Delta College reached out to us, and they really wanted a drop box there. And it is the largest community college in the area, and I know that it serves our county and other counties as well. And so it would be ideal that, because it serves the entire county, to have a drop box there. And they have requested it. The Dean of Students reached out to us, and also the student body. They wanted a drop box, but our board, and I respected this decision, and I agreed at that time to change what we did in the primary for the general election. We wanted to leave it the same, so we decided not to do that, and we're bringing that item back now at this point. The 27th drop box, and so to clarify, we own the 2 drop boxes already. They're sitting in our warehouse and can be deployed, so there would be no requirement to purchase anything, and our county facilities team can install these, so it would be a very minimal cost because we already own them. The other location would be the San Joaquin County Hospital to service the French Camp residents, and there was an ask actually by Chairman Dollywall to look at that, and so because we already own these 2 drop boxes, it's simply having facilities go install them, and so our recommendation is to deploy the final 2 drop boxes that we have sitting in storage and to move the one in Tracy. So that is clarification on that.
Thank you. I'm sure this is one that we'll probably entertain quite a bit of discussion on. I have a list of people here. Andrea Songe, is this one that you wanted to speak to?
It is not.
Okay. And I'm going to return to the board. Sharon Jarvis, is this one?
Mr. Hislop, did you want to do some board discussion before public
Sure.
comments?
Sorry. Thank you for your grace. Any discussion on this issue? Ms. Barrett?
I'm actually enjoying you. Question to Olivia. So we're more than half of Contra Costa County, and they have almost half more than what we have, they doubled up what we have. Would it be feasible to get more boxes? Maybe not at this point, but we don't have a lot of boxes, and we are a large spread county. So would it be feasible? I'd like to hear what you would say. Would it be feasible to get more boxes?
I think anything is possible, but again, back to my point that we need to be fiscally responsible. I think if this was something that was the desire of our Board of Supervisors, my team would start looking at grant opportunities to possibly purchase more if that was the desire of the board. We want to always honor our Board of Supervisors and their choices on how we're going to move forward. And so if that's something that the majority of the board would like, then that's something that we would absolutely look into, and we can plan for that. And if the board so desires, we'd work with the county administrator's office to make that happen if it needed to. Thank you.
Mr. Amador?
Thank you. This brings me back to my extensive law enforcement experience from being a policeman in Los Angeles to retiring as a United States Marshal. And I see a lot of things here, and I think the most important thing about the voting process is to have faith in the integrity of the system. We have seen people with literally tubs of ballots being dropped in. And so we said, as a solution, let's have some cameras on it. If a person's going to do that in public, they really wouldn't care if the cameras were there or not. Turned out we had a horrible experience with the cameras and the cost that was involved, and I would view it as a failure. But when we talk about receiving funds from people, we received funds from people like George Soros and Zuckerberg, and what we did was, using the pandemic as an excuse, ended up getting a lot of drop boxes. I don't know what the fear or problem is of going to a post office to drop your ballot off or having those drop boxes at a post office. We saw on camera, and it's documented, an actual former elected official bringing trays of ballots and stuffing them into these drop boxes. There's a lot of opportunities for fraud when people bring trays of votes and stuff them into these drop boxes. I don't understand why we can't allow people to drop their ballots off at post offices or put a drop box in a post office, which would be protected by cameras and things like that. There'd be security. If someone were caught violating the law or doing something wrong, now they have entered into a federal facility. And I think that's why a lot of people don't want to do nefarious things. I think this needs it's a lot of material that you presented us with. And I think that we have to do a little bit more work on this issue. I'd like to even protect against the appearance of any impropriety. And by adding more drop boxes, this is what's going to happen. And so I would like to see the response from the Board of Supervisors, and we're supposed to be advising them. But this is a massive thing. I'd like to table it so we can study it a little bit more, so I can formulate myself as a member, be responsible to the supervisor who appointed me, and make real recommendations regarding drop boxes. And this has been around for so long, it wouldn't hurt us, it wouldn't kill this committee, because we're supposed to be an advisory committee, to give us one meeting to come back and have some recommendations, rather than do it by the seat of our pants right now, because it's too important of an issue to just jam over to the Board of Supervisors and say, this is what we want done, this is where we want to spend our money. So I would request that we table any motions regarding this issue, or make a recommendation that we not vote on adopting more drop boxes until more work is done. And then when I say more work, it's from the public that we represent, that we'd like to get input from them.
Thank you. Ms. Barrett?
First of all, with the grants and the fundings that you were able to secure, we literally saved almost $15,000 to $20,000 versus mail charges for mailing in the ballots, right?
More than that.
And then my question is to Mr. Amador. So I've been up to your office during the collection of ballots and the process that you guys go through, and oh my God, the work that you guys put into making sure there's no fraud. My question is, did we see any fraud except for the one that the sheriff came to and talked to? We have talked about this for over a year. I would really like to see us move forward with a recommendation to the Board of Supervisors to give register of voters direction to look into funding, to add maybe another 5 to 10 boxes, because even San Francisco, at its little 7-mile square with the people they have more boxes than we do, even though they have more people. But I would like to see more boxes and maybe give direction to the Board of Supervisors, just to look into.
Thank you. Ms. Sloan?
Yeah. Olivia, you talked about how many ballots came through the drop boxes and then through the mail as well. And it looks like a good percentage come through the mail. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Yeah. So the actual polling place, about how many votes come in?
I believe I know in the 2024 general, we saw about 34,000 vote by mail ballots that just got dropped off to polling places on election day. And in this last election, I think it was like 28,000 in the special.
That's good information to know, because I really believe that people should have a variety of ways to get their ballot in for various reasons. They could be disabled, not able to get to the polling place, not even being able to get to a drop-off site. Is there any history that shows that as we've added drop boxes, that the actual usage of those drop boxes have increased the voter turnout?
That's a great question, through the chair. I actually will say that I don't think that there's really been an increase, because we've had 25 drop boxes now
Okay.
for quite some time. Before we installed the ones that we installed, we had other drop boxes, and it was about 25 drop boxes at that time. And so I think that would be a hard number to gauge.
Yeah, I knew you had had 25 for some period of time. I couldn't remember how far back when they started getting added, but I still think the majority of the ballots are coming in through the mail, which is a little scary in today's mail service, by the way, I might add.
Well, and to add context, we had 76,000 that were put in a drop box and 105,000 that were put in the mail. So, I mean, those numbers are, I mean, there are more coming through the mail, but there are quite a bit coming through the drop boxes. Go ahead, sorry.
Just one final question then. Did I hear you correctly earlier on when you said that there had not been fraud through the drop boxes that you have found? Or did you find some?
Outside of Shakir Khan, I'm not aware of any other fraud situation that has occurred in our county. What I will say is we work very closely with the sheriff's office to make sure, and something that's changed in our processes with the new sorters that I mentioned is every ballot that goes to a drop box, I can't tell you how you voted, but I could tell every single one of you that used a drop box where you dropped it off and what day you dropped it off at, and I can tell you for your ballot. So if there was ever an issue, I could say, Pam, it's telling me that your ballot was dropped off at Lodi Grape Festival on Saturday, June 1st, or whatever, Monday, June 1st coming up, right? So I would be able to tell you exactly that information. So that's another thing that we didn't have prior. So prior to the current team, we were not tracking that in that way. So with these new sorters, we were able to do that. And remember, every single ballot is signature verified, and those restrictions have become more and more prevalent. In fact, notifying the voter that it is compared to the signature that's on their driver's license record and any correspondences our office have received with the signature. So that's compared for every single ballot. So just to add some context to what we are looking at to make sure, I also have the sheriff's office. If we have more than 10 registered voters at a location, we have the sheriff's office look into those addresses for us to give us a report back. And if we even suspect one thing, like we had a couple reports this last election where ballots were tossed out on the lawn, and Good Samaritans contacted us, and the sheriff actually went out and investigated those. We had two incidences that happened. So just to share, like, our sheriff is on it, he supports us, and we are definitely utilizing his special services units to protect our elections and to help us in the process.
Well, as you know, I worked one of the drop box sites, and the sheriff department was close by at all times, checking in on it, asking us if we had any issues or concerns and what have you. One final statement about the cameras. My question to you, we don't have cameras at every site, correct?
We actually do. Every
Oh, we
single
do? Okay.
drop box has a live stream camera. It gets put up right before the drop box is open, and we do some testing to make sure they can go live on the day they open, and then they're covered until a couple of days after the
For some reason, I was thinking that not every single site had cameras, but that makes sense. Okay.
Even the one out front, they've actually put the camera across the street on the pole over there, and it watches the drop box on this side. So yes, all of them have a camera.
Okay. Do you see a problem if we are to take those cameras away?
That's a good question as well. I would say let me share what we've accomplished with the cameras. We have been able to confirm and not deny, as Mr. Amador showed, that no one's putting a bunch of ballots in the box. But I will say this, even if a person put a bunch of ballots in the box, if the signatures on those ballots match the voter's profile, those ballots are going to be counted. That's why the signature verification training and process is very important. We had a poll worker that worked near the Stanislaus campus box, and bless her heart, they were not very busy at their polling place, so she went over in the 2024 general, and twice during the day we seen her on camera, put blue tape on the box and wrote, "Please come to the polling place," and so she closed the box. And so we had to go out there twice and take that tape down. But her face was on camera, her little license plate was on camera, and a couple of weeks after the election, she actually got pulled over by a sheriff's officer because they were looking into it. And she just shared, she said, "We were really not busy, and I wanted to make sure people knew they could come over." And it was very innocent. So that was one thing that we did catch. Another thing was we had a young person that graffitied the box over in Quell Lakes Shopping Center. And we did provide that to the sheriff's office. There's really not much they could do. We went out and cleaned off the box, of course, so we knew about it right away and we could clean the box. And then outside of that, we had the Tracy City Hall that was overflowing. And so what we did is we changed our process to do 2 pickups on Monday before Election Day and Election Day. So those are the things that we've been able to accomplish with the cameras and what we've seen. So I can't really here's the thing. Whatever the voting public majority, and for all voters, what is the best choice for us as a majority is what we support. And we want to make sure that if the majority of San Joaquin residents wants those cameras, we absolutely support that. If the majority of San Joaquin County says, hey, we could spend that money to do some other things for our elections office or somewhere else, then we support that as well.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question.
We'll get to public comments in a second. Mr. Dadasovich.
Yeah, I just have a
few questions and comments. Do you know of other counties, what other counties have cameras on all of their drop boxes?
To my knowledge, there's not a county that has them on all of their drop boxes. They all follow the as feasible. We are the only county in California that are actually live streaming 24/7 footage to our website of our drop boxes.
Okay, another thing, you said that you were going to move a box in Tracy. Do we know how far it's going to be moved?
I think it's about 2.8 miles, and so right now we have four corners. We have Tracy City Hall, so they're all concentrated on this side outside of the one in Mountain House. So this one would move to the north side of 205. So I think it would do a really good job of servicing that, and it just makes it much less complicated when it's on county property. So that seems like that would be the most acceptable decision that would meet everyone in the middle, and that's why we made that decision.
Okay. I'm really happy to hear about the Delta College additional Dropbox because, I mean, I'm not a college student anymore by over like 10 years, I think. But I know that it would have been nice when I was in college to have a Dropbox. So the idea of tabling these additional drop boxes came up, and our next meeting is in April. If it was tabled, would there be no, I mean, there would be no additional drop boxes, I assume then, for the primary. Would that also affect the general election of this year? Since, as I understood it last time, we didn't want to mess with Dropbox locations between the primary and the general?
That was at the direction of the board. I mean, if the board supported us to make a change in between elections, we could absolutely do that. It's not really required to not, I mean, of course, we want to do our best to keep the primary as like as possible as the general election, and there is code that relates to like precincts and stuff as we talk about that when we are consolidating elections and things like that. But outside of that, it would not impact anything. I would say that if, I don't know, I can't think of at the top of my head the April Board of Supervisors meeting. I would say if it will put some pressure on our facilities team. They're amazing people and I'm sure they would get it done for us. So if we did table this, we could take it, I don't know when your next meeting would be established, but if it's before that Board of Supervisors meeting, it could come back and then we could immediately go to the Board of Supervisors for a vote. But the drop boxes need to be installed by the last week of April. And so because of that and along with the cameras, that could make the timeline very, very tight. So that's why we were coming today to bring this item. And this item has been discussed before, and I know it's just time to have the item brought forward. And I will say the reason that it's coming later was we were surprised with the 2025 special election that took all of our resources of our office. So I would have liked to have brought this item sooner, and again, this committee hasn't met until now. So there's a couple of things there that are related to why we're on that timeline, if that makes sense.
Okay, I would like to see the drop boxes out by the primary this year because I'd like to see the, well, as a young person, I'd like to see our young people vote. So while I can't vote on it, I'd encourage everybody to not table this.
As an old person, I'd like to see our old people vote. Mr. Amador, you had your hand up.
As another old person, I'd like to ask, I recall, and we recorded that conversation about drop boxes, and up in that conversation, if my neighbor were to tell me, she's very ill, and she says, would you take my ballot and drop it off for me? And I take it, I'm required to sign, and that I am dropping off her ballot. I asked you then, do you check for signatures of people that have dropped these stacks of ballots? Someone obviously has asked them to take their ballot. And your answer was no, if my memory doesn't fail me, and I'll go back and check. But you said no, you do not check the signatures. That is a safety measure to ensure that people aren't going to halfway houses or hospitals and just collecting ballots and dropping them off in boxes. Someone had to be accountable to sign to say, I have permission to do that. Has anything changed in that regard?
That's a great question. So for clarification, we're talking about the authorized agent box. So what I will say is any time that a voter comes in with a ballot to one of our polling places or to our office, and they are presenting a ballot to us that's not theirs, we make them sign that authorized agent box. However, if you drop it off in a drop box and we see on camera you put 50 in there and we don't know who you are, did you actually sign? And there's 4,000 ballots in there, we're not gonna know which ones are which, but I will say, there's also a clause in the California Election Code that we have to err in favor of the voter, so as long as the voter signed it and their signature matches, we're going to count their ballot whether the authorized agent remembered to sign or not. So that's the clarification there. Does that answer your question?
The
So the answer
matching
is
of the signature is what you're depending on.
the matching of the signature of the voter, not the signature of the authorized agent.
that's what I'm talking
Yeah, we
about.
don't verify, because the authorized agent doesn't have to be a registered voter. So we wouldn't have an ability to check the authorized agent signature anyway. That would be one limitation, unless they were a registered voter, and the law requires the signature to be checked of the voter, not of the authorized agent.
Thank you. I see a lot of pent-up demand in the audience. I've got a list of names here. I just want to start down them. Sharon Jarvis, this one you wanted to comment on? Ms. Jarvis?
Yes, I'm coming.
And following her, Andrea, I can't read your last name. Andre? And what item?
The end, last comment.
Okay, thank you. And then Ellen Estrada, is this one that, Miss Estrada?
Yeah, I'll
You want to make your way up then, because we're gonna,
pass.
oh, you'll pass, okay, thank you. Please,
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Sharon Jarvis. I am a county resident. I'm a retired lawyer. And I just want to say that we want more people to vote. We don't have enough people in our country who vote. We don't have a good enough civics class that gets young people to vote. So I just completely support vote by mail. I mean, there is no evidence of fraud in this kind of voting. It just makes it more convenient for people, and that's what we want to encourage. As to the stuffing of the ballot boxes or the drop boxes, I mean, that's ridiculous. The registrar, they check every single voter signature. So what more do you need? And I just think there's no reason to table this. We need more drop boxes. The cameras are a great check to make sure that people aren't doing things they should not do. And that's really all I have to say. Thank you.
That was 1 minute and 15 seconds. Good example of a public comment.
She did good.
Stephen, is it Sasson? Please make your way to the front. Following Steve, that's my timer. That's not a phone call. Richard, did you want to speak to this as well? Richard Slezak? I think he left, actually.
He's right here. He's right here.
I could follow.
Okay, you'll follow Christopher Anderson. Was this one you wanted to speak on? You'll follow Mr. Richard. There's a Debbie with no last name. So you're going to speak on this topic? I'd kind of like people to queue up a little bit so we can move through it. Karen Arthur. So thank you. Please, the floor is yours.
Good evening. My name is Steve Sasson. I'm a retired state worker, and I follow politics all the time, all day, all night. And the whole voter fraud issue has been disproven many, many times. Also, the people that oppose vote by mail, there's really no reason for that. Vote by mail is safe and there's no fraud there. moving the drop box from the bushes to someplace where people can find it is a great idea. Delta College is a good location for a drop box. I forgot what the other one was. And like the lady said, we need more people to vote. We need to make it more convenient for people to vote. There is no voter fraud except from the other side. And checking the signatures is a very secure way of verifying that that a vote is indeed what it's supposed to be. So I have no problem at all with more drop boxes, with vote by mail, with, I haven't been to a polling place in years,
10 seconds, sir.
and I'm done.
Thank you.
Righty,
Thank you, Mr. Richard.
okay, the drop boxes are already places that people consider civic places. And for San Joaquin County, 25 to 27 is good, but make sure that Thornton and Clements and Lockford, all, Collegeville, these little places, well, they'd like to, they have their concept of what is a civic location, and it would be good to have those there. As for Stockton, downtown here, Delta College, and to have them at a post office is a needless redundancy, but where they are known to exist culturally. There's not that many locations here in Stockton that immediately pop to mind, but where you do have them at, that's a good thing. So 25 to 27 is fine as far as I am concerned on that. And yes, keep them under a camera eye. That's a reassurance for people. So.
Thank you.
Dr. Christopher Anderson, I really hope that we do not succumb to conspiracy theories. Excuse me, with all due respect, Mr. Amador. Tubs of ballots being dropped. This sounds like the kind of crap I'm hearing from the Washington folks. This is about access. Everybody deserves a right to vote. Everybody deserves access. And it is not necessarily easy for someone to get to the post office. It's not necessarily easy for someone to even get to the drop box. So it is about making it so everybody has the opportunity to vote if they should want to do so. And you talking about money, I believe these grants came from the government, not from Soros or any other moneyed individual that you'd like to throw out there with your conspiracy theories.
If you want to
And as far as
debate
the
me
camp,
instead of
excuse
answering the
me,
body,
I am
would
addressing the
respectfully
body, and
ask
this
you
is
to not
my
direct
time
it
to
at
address the
me.
body, Mr. Amador. And if you'd like to have a
You have
conversation with
used
me
my
outside
name.
of
A little order here, please. I
I'm
would call for
addressing
order,
your
please.
comments directly. And finally, with cameras, it's not just a safety issue about securing ballots, it's a safety issue for all of us. I remember it was last year that someone firebombed a box in Sacramento. So if we want to make sure that everything is safe and people feel safe, then we need to keep the cameras going. The cost for the vote is not anywhere near the cost for loss of democracy. So let's make sure that we're paying attention to what's important here, and that's a free and fair election without silliness and without conspiracy theories. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have, are you Debbie?
My name is Debbie Stedfeld, and you're not going to like me either, Mr. Amador, but
Please direct the comments to the body and not to
okay,
an individual.
everyone.
Thank you.
He did mention having a video of someone stuffing the ballot box. I would like to see that video. I have never seen a video of that happening. And if there is one, please let us see it. And I'm tired, I'm so sick of hearing all these conspiracy theories. I would like them to stop and just go back to voting and having elections the way we've always had them. We've never had problems before. And I just want it to go back to normal. I'm sorry. Thank you.
Thank you. Please. Hi.
I'm Karen Arthur, a retired nurse, and my question is information seeking. So if a person has had a stroke or has been in a traumatic injury and it's their signature no longer looks similar to what it was before, what goes on in that case?
I'd like to refer that to our registrar of voters.
Perfect, through the chair. So we actually keep every signature that's ever been sent to us on file. So if it's like an aging thing and your signature is changing over time, we are documenting that along the process. If it gets to a point to where a 3-point signature check cannot be verified, there is what we call a ballot cure letter that is sent out. So in the event that you forget to sign your ballot or your signature doesn't match, you receive a letter from our office that gives you an opportunity to contact us, verify yourself, and to update your signature, and then that ballot can be counted once that's been achieved.
May I ask another question of her?
Yes, you still have 38 seconds.
And how do you find out if you've been kicked off the voter rolls?
No one is ever kicked off the voter roll. There's very specific reasons. Once registered to vote, you are a voter for life unless a very specific criteria is met, such as passing away, becoming mentally incompetent by a court, serving time for a felony conviction, so they're very limited. So, but if you have questions, because you can become inactive if you haven't voted for a while, you can contact our office, and there's also check my voter status on the Secretary of State's website. You can put in check my voter status into your search bar, and you can go to a website, put in your information, and determine if you are current.
Thank you.
And you can always call us.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other public comments on this topic? Did you turn in a card? So please just step up and give us your full name and your comment.
Phyllis McDonald. One of the reasons I like the Dropbox is because I know it's going to go directly to the ROV, so I feel more comfortable doing that than sending it through the mail. And they're pretty accessible to me, so I just thought I'd bring that out.
Thank you. Yeah, we've had a lot of mail theft in my neighborhood, and that Dropbox is a pretty solid thing. Yes, sir. Please step up and state your name. And
Hi, my name is Don Claus. I'm a resident of Manteca. One of the things that was interesting when I saw the numbers up there was Tulare County. I grew up in Tulare County, and I remember visiting Devin Nunes, who's probably a strong Republican, and it's a very red county. Proportionally, according to the numbers up here, they have more drop boxes than we do. So I find it really interesting that one of the reddest counties in this state, if you're talking about politics, one of the reddest counties in the state proportionally has more drop boxes and is more rural and is poorer than this county. And I grew up there, and I was a Republican for 40 years. I'm not now, but I was a Republican for 40 years. So I think I can speak to some expertise on that. Also, there was a comment made about hospitals and getting ballots. I was in the hospitals for 30 years, not once. And I have lots of relatives who are also nurses. Not once has any of us ever, in our experience, seen a person.
that would be your timer, sir.
Trying to get a ballot from anybody in a hospital. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am. Please let us know your name.
My name's Christina Van Dyke.
Thank you.
And I just wanted to say that the last time I voted, I dropped my ballot off at a ballot box, one of the drop boxes, and was delighted to see myself in real time on camera putting it in there, because I'm a little OCD. I always worry when I'm sending things off into the big unknown, and so I felt really good that could see myself doing it. But also, I have had mail that was sent from Lodi to me in Lodi that's taken 10 days, and I know that there are going to be changes with postmark, some issue, I don't know. It's kind of unclear to me, but so I'm much more confident with the drop boxes. They're like armored vehicles. They seem to be pretty solid. And the other thing is the two that you have in storage, doesn't make any sense to have them and not put them out. We do need more people to vote, and the easier it is for people to get to those lovely boxes, I think the better. I just can't see any downside to that. So I'm for the cameras, and I'm for putting those boxes out and moving them wherever I'm really impressed by the professionalism of our registrar of voters. That's it.
Thank you. So among the committee, there's been some discussion of tabling this, and I'd like to just remind people that a motion without a second dies, and a motion with a second gets voted on. And I'm ready to hear a motion to move this along to the board, or alternatively, a motion to table, or more discussion. Pamela, Ms. Barrett?
They call me Pam too sometimes, so it's all good. I would like to make the motion, as I said earlier, to move this forward and to recommend that the ROV or the Board of Supervisors gives direction to register of voters to look into a couple more boxes and get the 2 out of storage and get them posted. Did I say it right?
Would you include the cameras in that?
And the cameras.
So the motion is to approve this basically as written as advisory to the Board of Supervisors to fulfill the request for 2 additional boxes to be removed from storage and into use, relocation of a box, and regarding the removal of the cameras, that is not recommended at this time. Is that correct?
Correct.
And is there a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Ms. Sloan. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Noted that it passed by a majority of 3-1. Moving on. Thank you very much. I thought that was a good discussion. I would just like to remind people to not personalize your comments. Please address them to the committee at large. And
Chair, do we have a lot of public comments left? Because I'd like to use the restroom.
yes, we're going to move on to the next order of business. Would you like us to take a break for 5
Well,
minutes?
if somebody's going to take, if it's not a voting thing and somebody can just jot down some minutes.
Let's take a 5-minute break so you can be comfortable.
Thank you. Oh, please, it might.
I'm timing you. If we can come back to order now, item number 4 under the discussion items is the HAVA, H-A-V-A security grant uses to be presented by the Board of Supervisors, to the Board of Supervisors on a date yet to be determined. This again was at the website and in your committee packet. It's a very detailed assessment. I'd like to turn the discussion of that over to Ms. Hale.
Through the chair, I'd actually like to ask our analysts a question on this. Do we have it scheduled on when we're gonna take these 2 items to the board for the grants? Okay, it is still to be determined. I wasn't sure if we had decided a date. So yes, so this is a HAVA security grant. So the Help America Vote Act provides funding usually annually it's a federal fund, or it's a federal grant that's offered to us. And so what happens is whatever's allocated to the states, it's broken up by per voter, and then it's facilitated through the Secretary of State's office. And so last year, we were granted almost $16,000. This was in contrast much smaller than what we've seen before. So when we talked about the cameras and the grants from before, prior years, we got like $175,000. And that dropped from $175,000 down to $16,000 last year. And so with that $16,000, because we used the original $175,000 for the purchase of the cameras, we had recommended to use the same security grant to offset the cost of the cameras again. And there was just some concern from the board that, like, are we even going to continue with cameras? Are we going to have less boxes and different things? And so it was asked by the Board of Supervisors that we return to this committee to get to share some ideas. And something that I think is very important is we have these conversations. Whether you agree or disagree with what's happening, I think that's where great decisions are made, is when we're able to collaborate and share our ideas and come up with ways that are best for all of us. And so I think that this is one of those items, and so I appreciate the board making that recommendation. And so we come back before you today to discuss that almost $16,000 grant that was signed in, I believe, May 19th of 25 with the board. And so in addition to that, we just a few days ago were notified that there's almost, I believe, $8,000 grant for this new year coming up. So we're gonna have a total of almost $24,000 for HAVA security grants. And so I did include in your packets the the agreement that was signed in May, so that you could look at the content in detail. I do have a brief summary that I'm going to share, that courtesy of our management analyst, Trevor over here, he provided that for me. So I will read through that, but I just wanted to share that you have the actual agreement. So what I am sharing is just a summary of what's already in this agreement as listed. So as far as the HAVA security grant goes, we have the options to use it for cybersecurity, which would be anything that could enhance our network security, including but not limited to malware, security software, hardware protection, cloud security, application security, insider threat, and so on. I would like to say, just so it's full context to this board, we have an amazing IT department in the county, referred to as ISD, Information Systems Division. They have built out the Registrar of Voters internal space as like, we're our own space within the county network. We're not the county network. So it's like we have walls inside the walls, is how it has been explained to me by the IT department. And they have participated in penetration testing, where we've seen that they couldn't get to the ROV stuff at all. And keep in mind, when we're talking about this, the voting system is never connected to the internet or part of it. We're talking about our computers and when we're, our desktops and all of those things. But that is something it can be used for. But I do have great confidence in the team that already exists and the work that's being done to protect us every single day. As we sit in this meeting, we even have ISD staff here that's helping us facilitate this meeting tonight. So they do an amazing job. Physical security, this can include security guard costs, first aid supplies, panic alarms, security cameras. So again, that's why our recommendation was that it stays consistent with what we've previously used it for. And not that I'm plugging that, I just am trying to be clear on what we've used it for in the past. You can also do generators, storage for election equipment and supplies. Our analyst also believes that maybe drop boxes could be something if that was the desire of the Board of Supervisors. We're not 100% sure about that, but we will double check. The security and privacy awareness training, so we could reimburse for our training of our staff on phishing, misinformation, all of those different things, emergency drills. We regularly participate in what they call tabletop exercises as it relates to threats around elections. Our staff is trained. We also have security training that is facilitated by our IT department, and they are constantly, and I get them all the time and I catch them, and it's like they pick on me constantly, but my own email gets them often because they want to make sure that I know what I'm looking for and that I'm not opening anything that could cause a threat for us. But again, we could use it for that. And then incident response, it would be more reactive than proactive. We would be able to deal with security incidences, anything issues with ballots, that the sheriff's office builds us for their protection, per se, that they provide us on election night. So those are things in a short summary, but the lists are much more extensive in the agreement. And so we're here tonight to kind of collaborate with this advisory committee so that we can make a recommendation to the board that includes all of our thoughts, and hopefully we can come up with something that makes sense. A lot of thoughts, I apologize.
Just for the public, those of you that didn't go to the website and look at this, it's a vast and comprehensive list of ways that the HAVA funds can be used. And a lot of technical detail into, if you just look at the cybersecurity piece, to me, you know, I'm good enough not to open an email that shuts down my computer for the rest of my life, but beyond that, it seems like there's a lot of special awareness of security in this department, and this seems like it's going to enhance it. And with that, I'd like to see if there are other comments, Ms. Barrett.
Oh, no, I was.
Okay. Ms. Sloan?
I was just gonna say that in light of the fact that you brought up the cameras may be reduced or whatever, I would really like to see it put towards that, like we've done on the, you said we've done it in the past. I think anything that we can help with that security side of things, I think that's important. Not that we need cameras maybe at every single site, but I do want to protect the cameras in certain areas if possible.
Any other comments from the committee? Public comments on this subject? I'll entertain a motion to direct the registrar to take their grant use proposals to the Board of Supervisors.
So move.
I asked for public comment. Seeing, oh, there was one. Okay.
Oh.
Thank you. Step on up. Hello, yeah,
Hi.
name.
Name Gina Nunez. And anything else? My comment?
Yeah.
Okay. I know cybersecurity is important. No, better? Cybersecurity is important, but I think the disinformation and the misinformation are really taking over, like our news and how people are respecting our government right now. So I think that focusing on people still trusting in the voting system is really important. That's basically.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
Any other public comments? Yes, sir. Please step on up. Andre, is it? Thank you. I won't try to pronounce your last name, but maybe you can pronounce it for me.
Hi, I'm a resident of San Joaquin County. I'm Andrei Pishalnikov. It's phonetic. I'm a former vet, and I'm really distressed about what's happening in the country, and it's reflected in our county and our government, and I have very little time, so I'll try to make this quick. I'm concerned about our government because we have members that are part of the disinformation that's been going on since 2020. That's been disproven over and over and over again. We even had a guest invited to Lodi, Carrie Lake, and it was supposed to be a veteran fundraiser. They refused to even say what they did with the money. Anyway, we have proponents that are members and also on the board that are not good for the health of our voting. Please be strong, make sure that we make the system work well. I'm concerned about who the poll workers will be. I'm concerned about attacks on our own voting here with misinformation, false photos, false flag operations. So please do the best you can. Hopefully we're going to get great pollsters, and we're going to have those voting boxes, and we'll have our mail. I'm also concerned about the mail. We've seen it compromised before in the past, the Postal Service with the sorting machines. We also have pressure from the other side of the party about shortening the time to get votes in, any way to cut votes and to mess up our being able to be counted. So please continue to find the best ways to let everybody have a chance to vote and make sure the vote is accurately counted. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Ms. Barrett.
Can I ask Ms. Hale about the, I was a poll person. or was a box person, I was somebody person. But the process, just to make sure that people that are gonna be doing the polling places, how you check, just to make sure they're not a terroristic threatening person, or, you know what I mean?
Through the chair, to answer that question. So actually, to be honest, the only thing we check is that you're not on Megan's Law. And even if you're on Megan's Law, you can still work as a poll worker. We just can't put you at a school or a church where there's a daycare. So democracy is alive and well, and everyone that wants to participate can. So we don't actually look into those things. Of course, if there is something that's been brought to our attention, or our sheriff's office has a concern, like I mean, just like you casting your vote, it's free and fair. We don't discriminate. And I will be honest, if you've been assigned to a polling place and you did something egregious and you didn't return the ballots, like we had an example this time around where, I mean, just full transparency, on election night, so this story happened to Austin Erdman in 2016, and I was like, this is never gonna happen to me. We had a poll worker, an inspector, and they took the ballots to Christian Life Center instead of Christian Life Church. The security guard locked the ballots inside the lobby of Christian Life Center. And we've worked with Christian Life Center and Life Church. It's the same organization, and we do work with them. And so there was some confusion. But at 11:30, we had every single precinct back except for that one. All of our tracking systems go. We knew that we were missing this item. We're trying to call the poll worker. We can't get anyone to answer the phone. This is why we have the sheriff's office there with us. Of course, my staff immediately wanted to go to the house because we're election officials, and we're not going home until we have every last ballot in our possession. The thing about that is at midnight, sending this group of guys to a house without an escort with the sheriff's officer is probably not a good idea. So the sheriff could go and be an escort to our elections officials to collect the ballots or whatever the scenario may be. In this instance, we had to go to the house. The poll worker told us what they did. The sheriff, our staff moved quicker than the sheriff. They were at the church demanding the security guard to let them in. The security guard's like, yeah, you can get in tomorrow. And we're like, absolutely not. And so the sheriff came and made sure we got in to get those ballots. So things happen, right? And so I didn't mean to go deep into a story, but that's an example of something where we need to address that, if that makes sense. So.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments on that? So
Make a motion to accept?
make a motion to approve item number 4.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Seconded by Ms. Sloan. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Seeing none, it's unanimously it's unanimously approved to take the HAVA recommendations to the board.
And through the chair, if I may, for clarification, I'm hearing that the request is for it to be for the security cameras. Is that correct? Because that was one of the things, was to ensure that that's what the ask is, so that I can clarify that when I take the item.
I heard that it be considered.
Okay,
Yes,
Is that correct?
that's correct.
thank you.
Item 5, recognitions for the Adopt a Poll participants. I've been looking forward to this one. Ms. Hale.
Thank you. I actually just sent some staff up to get the flyers on brochures for this program. And so the spirit of this program is that we have already existing polling locations that are not adopted. The idea is a club, a family, a community group, a community-based organization, a nonprofit, they can adopt a polling place. So, for example, we will go with Pat over here. She decides that her and her group, her flower club, they want to adopt a polling place. So they can pick a polling place that already exists. She'll say, I'm interested in it. They'll do the application. We'll say, well, these are all the available locations where you're interested in serving. She then tells us, I'm going to adopt the flower shop, and this is where we're going to have a polling place. And then she then works with our office to say, these are my 5 people that are going to work with me every election. Of course, they have to apply. We get them on the payroll for poll worker, and they get to work that polling place election after election. This is something that they do in Solano County, and they have permanent precincts of only 70, I believe it is, but they have most of them adopted by a club, community organization and such, church groups, families, all different things. And what we want to do is for those, we only have one family that actually did this, and they actually use their garage as a polling place for us in an area where there's not really any business that we can use or a school per se. So that family adopted a poll in 24 and 25, and we do want to recognize them. And the thought was when we rolled, the spirit of the program was that they would be recognized by the Board of Supervisors. And so there's a little difference in that. So we could still do that. It would go on consent by my office, and then if a board member wanted to pull the item to recognize them, then they can be recognized that way. Or we could talk about, possibly revamping it to where they be recognized with the advisory committee, but I think it would be to the Board of Supervisors. So I just wanted to have a discussion and bring some light to the program. Our goal was to have more people participate. We had a great individual that was actually interested in doing this, but they wanted to adopt their church, and it just so happened their church was right down the street from a church that we've used for more than 30 years, and so we didn't want to change to a new location because the voters were used to going to that said church. So the encouragement and how we want to ensure that people understand the program is you're to adopt an existing polling place, and we want to recognize those people. We also have a SMART goal related to this. Over the next 3 years, we'd like to see at least an increase each election of people adopting polling locations, but we're not doing the best job. We hope to get at least 15 within the next 3 election cycles, and we're hoping we can come up with a way to encourage people by the recognition and what that could look like, and so that's just why we wanted to bring that forward tonight.
Any discussion from the committee? Ms. Barrett?
You know, we heard a lot of comments tonight about getting more people voted, getting more people involved in voting, getting a youth groups, I think that's really a great way to get people more involved in our voting. Maybe promoting at the college, especially if Delta's gonna adopt a box, maybe get it out to their political science classes to see if the families that are in our county would be willing to sponsor something like that. That's really great.
Ms. Hale, do you need any advisement from us, or is this purely informational?
Unless there's thoughts to not take it to the board like I shared, I think that would be the way we would go, would be to put it on consent from our office, and if our designee sees fit, maybe he could pull that item to ensure those folks get recognized, or maybe another board member will. And then on that note, I have a lot of flyers here, so please take however many you'd like, or my card. We definitely want to get the community involved and would like to see folks really participate in this program. So that's it.
I suspect no one on the board is opposed to this? Yeah, okay. Thank you very much.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
We can make the arrangement to recognize.
Thank you. Perfect.
Thank you. So,
Mr. Hislop, even though it's informational, can we still have a public comment on this item?
yes,
Thank
we
you.
can. Any public comment on the adopt a poll participation recognition? Yes, ma'am. Please step on up.
You don't see it when it's right here, right?
No, I can't see it behind the head of another public member out there in the audience. Come on up and tell us what you're thinking.
Okay, my name is Ellen Estrada, and, so my question is, could a business adopt a poll?
Through the chair, absolutely.
Okay,
Absolutely.
and then but not like a Democratic club or a Republican club. It would be you would want it to be nonpartisan, is that correct?
To be fair, we would not want to say this is the Democratic club, but if a group of individuals adopted it, we want to keep it nonpartisan.
Yeah.
But I don't know that we would tell them no. We would tell them that there's a thing called, interfering, and we wouldn't want to, we need to be nonpartisan at all times. So something that everyone
Right.
in my office, including poll workers, is told, you need to honor your job as a nonpartisan, whatever your personal, it gets hung on the tree outside, you don't bring that into our office. And
Right.
so I don't think
No
we would
favor to one or the other.
Correct.
Yeah.
So we wouldn't discriminate against
Yeah.
that, but we would encourage and require that we remain nonpartisan in our activities on Election Day.
Okay, so that's kind of a yes and no.
Yeah, I don't think we would tell them no, because they would apply, we would just give them the same instructions that all poll workers would have, and we would not, they wouldn't be, we're the Democratic Club, that wouldn't be appropriate on Election Day, but I don't think we would say no. From what I know in Solano County, they allow it.
Ah, okay. All right, thank you.
It's a matter of how they behave at the poll. You know, I mean, they're supposed to be a host, right?
It is a matter of how they behave at the poll.
So I'm looking at, we have item 5, any additional public comments that anyone wishes to make? There are some. Please step on up and say your name and give us your comment. Same rule, minute and a half.
Okay, Phyllis McDonald. So I do have a question that I may have missed. What is the purpose of this particular item that you're talking about, of adopting a poll?
Through the chair, the purpose of Adopt a Poll is to encourage civic engagement and the community to be involved. I know when we originally started this, we learned about it from Solano County, and Supervisor Ding and myself, we really wanted to see how we could get the community clubs involved. And so, you know, you hear all these things around elections. So what are you doing to make our elections great? And so the spirit of it was to get the community involved.
And what is their function?
They serve as the poll workers on election day, and they serve at that polling location for the day. And so whoever decides to be the person, they say, I'm gonna adopt this poll, and now they're gonna be responsible for gathering the folks that will work with them on election day, getting their applications into us, and then that person becomes responsible every election for that polling place and ensuring it gets staffed. They still work in collaboration with our office. We make sure that no balls get dropped, but we know that that person is consistently, every election will be ready to serve on election day.
And are they screened?
They go through the same process as every other poll worker, which is an application process that comes through our office, and as long as they meet the criteria, they're able to work.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Next.
Hi there. My name is Andrea Sanjineff, and I'm in District 4, and congratulations to our new chairperson, yay. I've been attending several of these meetings, and I'm a longtime poll worker, and I have some recommendations for this committee. The first one is that everybody on the committee should not just go through election training, but actually serve and work it as a poll. Last I checked, you don't have too many people signing up to do that. So I think that would be a really significant recommendation, because there's been information presented that if you worked an election as a poll worker, you would know is false. I would also like to suggest a defined competence standard for presenters. Historically, we've had presenters who can say, I'm a scientist. Okay. That doesn't mean you have any level of expertise as far as polling and being a poll worker, and the process included. We've seen individuals with negligible experience, including those at the most recent meeting, past meeting, give a platform to speak on behalf of all poll workers, but they'd only served at one election. And then I'd also like to suggest mandatory disclosure of expert research. We've had multiple individuals talk about 14,000 illegal votes in our county. How many people did we have vote overall in the last election? And to the best of my knowledge, they have never presented that information publicly for any vetting. So I think that would improve the faith and belief in the competency of this group.
You
Thank
also have the opportunity to submit written comments, which will be reviewed, and it gives you a chance to flesh out those thoughts a little bit more than
I'd be happy to do
than you
that.
can
I
in a
have
minute and a
pages.
half. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, and they do get read.
Good evening. My name is Mary Kenefick, and I would just like to remind those of you who have been connected to this committee for a while, and those who remember it, that years ago, we were offered the opportunity to adopt something called the Voters' Choice Act. This was a state initiative, and most of the counties around us adopted the Voters' Choice Act, but San Joaquin chose not to. I'm simply wanting to remind you that it's still there, that this isn't the time, but at some point, perhaps we could take that up again. I think it offers some significant improvements. I won't detail what those are because you don't care right now. I'm sure Olivia knows, and someday, if it's appropriate, we can consider it again, and she will tell you then. But let's not forget it, because it does offer some things that, although we have moved under Olivia Hale, we have moved a long way in the direction of what it was trying to achieve. We're not there yet. And that option is still open to us if we choose to pursue it.
Thank you. That was exactly 90 seconds. Any other public comments? So thank you for the public comments. I really appreciate listening, and that's the purpose of this advisory committee, is to provide access to the public to reach into the voting process. Any further comments from our registrar of voters, Olivia Hale?
Thank you very much, Chairman. I have a few things that I'd like to share, if that's okay. I'd first of all like to thank all of you for spending your Thursday night here and helping to support this committee. I know that it's a commitment, and my team is very grateful that you make that investment. So I want to thank the advisory committee. I want to welcome our new members. My office is always here to answer questions for any of you. If you want to take on a research project, or you're curious about something, I'm 100% available to assist in any of that. I also want to thank Supervisor Dollywall, Chairman Dollywall, and his office and his staff for being so involved in supporting the process of getting us here this evening. I also would like to just share some tidbits, and so some things that we're doing on the front of engaging our youth. In 2027, we plan to launch our first youth empowerment summit. In 2025, we did a trial run of a pilot on student mock elections, and we were able to go into 5 of our 1 schools. We were able to do 1 school in each. We worked with the Office of Education, and so we picked a school in each of the supervisorial districts. The supervisors came out and participated. We got to engage with some youth that, tend to get overlooked because of the type of schools they go to, and it was just a really great experience. And Yolo County does this Youth Empowerment Summit, and so we're in the works to get that launched in 27 to get our high school youth engaged. We're in talks with UOP to hopefully host it there. No promises yet. This is at the very beginning stages, but I think it's important to hear about the good things that we're doing, because I know we talk about the contentious items, so let's talk about some of the positive stuff as well. In addition to that, we are participating in a youth internship program where we'll be able to bring in some of the youth to work in our office to expose them to what we do in the Registrar of Voters office. So those are a few things we're doing with the youth. I want to recognize our team and some of the achievements that have been made in the last year. We have a program called CalPEAK, and it's a certification program through our trade association, the California Association of Clerks and Election Officials, and they host 12 courses that can be taken over the course of a couple of years. They offer them at our annual and our new law conferences, and so we were able to see 16 of our staff graduate from that program, which brought us to a total of 22 of the 31 staff in our office who are now certified under the CalPEAK program. In addition to that, we have the federal certification that's done through the Election Center, and it's the CIRA certification, and we will have 3 of our management staff complete that program in 2026. So not yet, but it's in the works. We had 1 staff member participate in what is called the Leadership Academy that's done at UC Davis, and this is done through our trade association as well. And so we actually had 2 of our staff, and they only choose 10 people to go. 2 of our staff were selected to go. 1 individual took a job in another county department, so they did not go to the training, but 1 of our staff did, and she completed the leadership master's credential through UC Davis. So that was really great, and I hope to continue to send staff to that. I currently am a co-chair for the GIS committee with our trade association, and so that's all about all things mapping and the new technology with Survey 123 that you've seen us roll out with our drop boxes and our polling place surveys for ADA compliance. So we're really taking charge of that area of technology and learning about it. We now have a GIS unit in the Registrar of Voters office, so just another good thing that we're working on. We are also working with the U.S. Alliance for Election Excellence. We are applying for a certification to become a Center for Election Excellence. We signed up for the Pathfinder cohort, and we actually scored exemplary in the 3 disciplines, which were ballot security, funding and billing, budgeting and funding, and then the third one was the 1% audit, so the post-election audits that we do. And so we're actually working with other elections jurisdictions across the country. We have calls monthly where we're able to share our processes and procedures to help improve elections and democracy as a whole in our country. So that is a really cool thing that we're working on. I also want to give a shout out that I watched my staff, they're not my staff, the Registrar of Voters staff administer an election in 74 days flawlessly, and I am more than impressed by the team that works with me, and I could not do this job without them. So it was just 74 days, folks. They knocked out an election. It was amazing to see. The question that I got this week that I found very interesting was, how can the advisory committee help the ROV office? And the answer is collaboration, educating our voters, working together. We're all on the same team. I'm a voter just like you're each a voter in this county, and we have to do this together. That means sometimes, if we can improve somewhere, it is our job to sit there and hear you tell us how we can improve. And then it's our job to take that information and try to do something to make it better. And that is something that we're committed to doing. And so these conversations sometimes are great to have, and sometimes we call them courageous conversations because we need to talk about ways we can do better, and that's okay too. So working collectively, answering your questions, us being available to answer questions for these members and also any members of the public, we can work together to do some great things and really make people feel good about our elections. And we've been working on that, and I think it's a work in progress, but we want to continue to build on that and do the great work of what we're doing in our office. I already shared great ideas come from sharing information. Something I want to share is we actually had one of our constituents bring to us, so we rolled out what we call no wrong location, which means that you can go to any polling place in the county on election day. But we're traditional polling places. So there were concerns about people, now that we're advertising that, and they go to cast a provisional or conditional voter registration ballot, they're only getting the ballot that's available at that polling place. Well, we're working on some developments to be able to allow that CBR voter, that provisional voter, to get the exact ballot that they should get and able to print it. And so I appreciate people that are courageous and they come and have those conversations with us. I mean, do we like being told, you could do better? Yes, if we can do better, I owe it to you to look into it. And so our staff is working right now diligently to come up with a process that will serve those voters better. A few things to add to is the Certified Election Observer Program that we're working on and in the formation document that you all adopted this evening. It is a set of 8 courses that you will actually take in our office. They're 2-hour courses, and each of you are now going to be signed up for that in your first year. We are in the final stages of the curriculum building for that, and so our outreach team will be reaching out to schedule those classes as soon as it's ready to go. And so it's an opportunity for you to learn what candidate filing is. You can learn what election security, you can come to our office and see what we really do. And so I'm looking forward to that, not just for this committee to be a part of that, but it'll be open to the public. Each cohort will only be about 10 people, so we will facilitate it multiple times through the year. So this is a program that we hope to use to educate. Contra Costa County is doing this program, and it actually got borrowed from a county in Pennsylvania because Contra Costa was doing it. And so it's something that's been very positive for them, and we're hoping to help with some of the misinformation and the concerns that exist through this program. Another thing is 8 of the 10 people on this advisory committee served at the special election. If they didn't observe, they worked at a drop box, they helped with Drive Up Democracy, they worked at a receiving center on election night, or they served as a poll worker. So you all are engaged, and I think you deserve your kudos, and for the public to know that you guys did participate in the election and you're doing everything you can to be a part of that. For those that didn't get to, we'll see you in June. We'll have a nice assignment for you, not a problem. And hoping that you guys will continue to do that and serve in different capacities so that you can give feedback to our office. So that's what I have. That was a little long-winded, but I think those were important things to bring up. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Quick question. what's left to become a center for election excellence?
Right now, we have to finish our monthly check-ins through June, and then we have to apply through the application. But I'm very confident because they actually reached out and wanted to spotlight our office, and so they're publishing like a publication that they're doing, and so we've been interviewed, and they plan on including some information about our office. So I'm very confident that we will get that certification. The only other county in California that I know that has it is Contra Costa County. So we get to borrow from our fellow counties and find all the
And
good
neighbor.
stuff and put it all together and hopefully do some great things.
Nice that they're close. Thank you very much. Any other committee comments?
No, I just wanted to know, can I apply some of those hours I used to some of those courses?
No, ma'am.
Mr. Amador?
GIS, what is GIS committee?
Geographic Information Systems, so it's mapping technology that's done. This is how I'm not the technical person, but I have a team that does it. So basically everything related to mapping. So our precinct, precinct building, our consolidations of our precincts, keeping all the up-to-date maps, ensuring that all of our district associations are correct. That's what that entails. And so in prior practice, the ROV relied on elections people to do that. And with the implementation of Esri software that does all the mapping stuff, it requires a specialized person to do that. And so through the support of the Board of Supervisors, we've been able to add 2 people to that unit. So now we actually have somebody that's titled a GIS specialist. And so with the adoption of that, counties were looking like, you guys are making this happen. And so that's why I stepped up, and I was asked by the president to participate in it. And at first I'm like, and then my co-chair is LA County. So I was very confident to be able to see what they're doing with mapping, because that stuff's important, and that's not partisan in any way. We need to make sure the maps are right no matter what, right? So it's been nice to be a part of that to ensure that we have accuracy in our county. So you're welcome.
Thank you. Any other comments? Thank you. The next meeting is scheduled for April 2nd, 2026. I'd just like to call the attention of the members and the public that this is on the website. There are 4 meetings scheduled this year. Tonight, April 2nd, August 6th, and December 10th, at 6 p.m. in this room. And with, if there's no further new business or public comments, I'll accept a motion to adjourn.
So made.
Moved by Mr. Amador, seconded by Ms. Sloan. All those in favor of adjournment?
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned. Thank you.
you.